Good afternoon. I'm Chief Chris McCall from the Kerrville Police Department. We wanted to put together a short conversation with our local businesses in regard to the approaching solar eclipse. You may ask why this is important. We've been living this for about the last 3 to 4 years, and this is why it's important. If you look at the center of totality, that runs right across Kerrville. And if you know, previously in October, we had another eclipse that transversed us in the opposite direction, creating a cross over the top of our community. This has made us very appealing to people out in the public to visit our community, to come in and see this event. We'll see this event start on Monday, April 8th, 2024. The once-in-a-lifetime event was last seen in the U.S. in 2017, and after 2024, the next event will be in 2045 that will be visible from the United States. Kerrville is in the path of totality, and our totality will occur at 1:32 p.m. In the afternoon, and we'll have approximately 4 minutes and 26 seconds of darkness. This is the only thing that I'm going to tell you today that I am 100% sure of. It will get dark at 1:32, and the sun will come back out at 1:36. After that, we're preparing for as many options or opportunities as we can, as many scenarios as we can, to try to prepare our community and be ready to respond to this event. We expect the population, you've probably seen some in the media, you've probably seen things that say 488,000 people visiting Kerrville, Kerr County area. We don't see that as a very realistic number. Everything that we've looked at in the past indicates to us that we're going to see about a 2 to 3 times population increase for our county, for our area. So we're looking at about 100 to 150,000 guests coming into our community that we believe will start building up sometime the week before and move into the day of totality. One thing that we talk about at all our presentations is eye safety. Make sure that you have the appropriate eyewear. You can get eyewear here locally, but you want to make sure that it's something that is certified and meets ISO safety standards. And kind of what we know is that we have a request for meeting summary with AI companion. What we know at this point, these are the after action reports and white papers that we've reviewed as emergency management. Chief Maloney and myself and our staffs, as well as Ashley Boyle with the Parks and Rec Department, we've done all we can to try to make ourselves familiar with how other communities have what their experiences were with total eclipses in the past, and we've tried to utilize that to build our plan going forward. I'll let Chief Maloney come up and talk about our community lifelines. He's been instrumental in preparing us and getting us on track and guiding us through the process of preparing our community through these lifelines. Chief Maloney.
Right. Eric Maloney, Fire Chief for the Kerrville Fire Department, and definitely want to kind of reiterate the importance of what we've done with 2017 and looking back at that. Those are the experts. That's the people that have given us the information that travel the world, that are going to see more total eclipses than we ever will. And so they're giving us that information. So, because I know the 500,000 is a concern, but that is coming from the experts in the room. And so we took that information from 2017, the total eclipse, and said, how can we apply that to Kerrville? So what are some things that we can use or learn from those events? And one of the things that we learned in putting everything together is, how do we ensure local government is established? How do we ensure local businesses are reestablished? And how do we ensure the safety and security of our citizens? And so we did that by establishing and making sure we review our community lifelines of safety and security, food, water, shelter, health and medical, energy, communications, transportation, hazardous materials. So each of these community lifelines was kind of built on each other, And each of those had a technical expert. So it wasn't myself and Chief McCall sitting around the table and trying to come up with things. We brought the people in that actually did the work on this, that did the backhaul. So if we were talking about AT&T and communications, we talked to the people that built the infrastructure, that worked underneath some of the AT&T. So we got a better concept, and we really learned a lot. We learned a lot about our community and some of the resources we have. But it really kind of brought that information together to let us get a better look at, okay, how can we mitigate these issues that we potentially see? How can we maybe resolve them, or we bring the gap as small as possible? So these weren't roundtable discussions, but work groups focus on a single objective. So we looked first at the law enforcement, security, fire service, search and rescue, government. And one of the things we did on that one, Chief?
Yeah, so part of what we did on that was really focused on transportation through the community and the ability to move our resources, meaning public safety's resources, through the community. We've created a plan that allows us to stage resources in and around the community, and also allows us to move through the community. We've partnered with TxDOT and really worked through a lot of what that looks like for us and what that means as far as how do we post-event move people out of our community. And I'll go into a lot more detail on the traffic program at the end of this presentation. We'll go into a full section in regards to the traffic, but that was one of the large pieces of the safety and security lifeline that we were working on, was ensuring that we could move through the community and trying to create a plan for the public post-event.
So we took that information, tried to identify, so what are some of the additional resources and personnel that we may need for this event. So we are Kerrville, so this is not San Antonio. So as fire chief, I only have so much at my disposal, unlike San Antonio fire chief has a lot more at his disposal. So we really tried to identify, and then we saw those gaps, and then we went out and said, where are we going to put these resources, how are we going to get them, and what are we going to ask for? As you saw earlier, when you look at the slide, the totality is 100 miles wide. It goes from the other side of Junction to the other side of 410 and I-10. So it's big, and the experience is being in totality. But that also means a lot of those agencies, a lot of those other counties are impacted. Those are our mutual aid, our neighbors out there too. So we had to take that into consideration. We looked at food, water, shelter. We were looking for food to provide for additional public safety that are out there and support. We looked at locations, how we're going to stage water for distribution for our city and our citizens out there. If you could imagine, so additional traffic studies that we saw, some of those traffic studies on an interstate out of Natrona County and Carbondale, some of those were 11 hours to go 140 miles on the interstate. So that's a lot, that's a big difference, that's an impact. So if you think of that, when I go out for the weekend and go somewhere, I have enough for my day. I'm not expecting for 11 hours. So we have additional water that we're going to stage, strategically stage to be able to provide some extra support for them. Shelter for our first responders, and of course shelters for the vets. So we work with Kerrville Pets Alive locally, because you think, well, that's not a pet thing, but what if somebody gets in an accident? What if somebody has to go somewhere and they need their pet taken care of? So we did work with them. Public health and medical, so this has been a big component that we've been working on. So definitely as the fire department running EMS. So we work directly with Peterson Emergency Room. Peterson Health has been in most of these meetings that we've been in, trying to figure out ways we can decompress, how can they can handle a surge or a larger volume of patients coming in. So they've been making a lot of changes to their operations and things they can do to be able to support that. We identified public safety stations. So for EMS, we are the fire department, so we're doubling kind of in size in regards to EMS support on Sunday and Monday. So we'll have four additional public safety sites, or like a fire station, that will be throughout the county. At the ETJ is where we'll have those, and so that will have additional support to be able to handle an additional call load. And then additional EMS and acute care support, and then of course additional medical supplies. So power grid and fuel, so important, right? So we remember power grid, that was real important during winter storm. So here, it's not going to be a problem. We work with KPUB, Bandera Electric, CTEC, just to make sure that we're all in place. So they'll have extra teams out there staged throughout the county just in case, but it will not be an event that will have an issue for them. and we make sure we have additional fuel for public safety. At the same time, have the conversations with our vendors to understand that if we're expecting 3 times the population, 100, 150,000 guests in our community, so how do you manage that for fuel? What does your fuel look like on your peak demand? And then is that enough, or do we need a little bit more? So, and that's some of the things when we talk about emergency management planning and things we need to do as citizens, is making sure that we take care of ourselves, right? So if we go out to your vehicle when you leave here, look down and say that distance to empty the DTE, see how many miles that is. That's as far as you're getting in emergency. So we need to make sure that us as citizens, businesses, your staff are educated in the point that don't get fuel on Monday or Sunday, let's get it the week before. It's Kerrville, right? So if I get a full tank on Wednesday, Thursday, I'm fine for a week outside of going back and forth to San Antonio. So we should be good. So, and it's important to make sure we have enough fuel, because we do want our guests to fuel up and head out of town too. Otherwise, they will be staying here. So, infrastructure response, Chief?
Sure. So we've been working heavily with our 911 partners, with dispatch, working to prepare for the call volumes, for to prepare our system to be able to handle the volumes of calls that we may see during that week. We've worked hard to ensure that we not only have the personnel but the technology to do that. We know that we will likely see some issues with our cellular service during that week. So if you were a business and you're dependent on cellular service to run your operations in some way, you may want to pre-plan for some type of a hardline fiber support, something outside of the cellular connection. We feel fairly confident with the number of folks that are going to be in Kerrville proper, that we will likely see some disruption in our cellular service at some point during the event. If you can imagine everyone standing in the park, what do we all do now? We all open up our social media and we want to live stream it, right? So that really impacts our networks, and especially during that time, we feel like the strain will be pretty dramatic. We've also identified we're worked to try to identify locations for citizens and visitors to contact 911. Chief Maloney at all of his fire stations on the day of event will have personnel staffed there. So if someone in one of those neighborhoods has an emergency and can't get out on their cellular device, they can always go to a fire station. We're also encouraging folks to know if your neighbors have a landline telephone, or if there's a business in your neighborhood that operates on a landline telephone. Know where that's at, and have access to be able to get to someone that can contact 911. The other option with that is we're not certain on the impact of our wireless or our internet connections. We haven't seen anything that indicates major disruptions in those. So Wi-Fi calling may be an option for you. Consider that if you're needing to make a 911 call and you're connected to a Wi-Fi network.
Public communication, so identified for emergency messaging. So the City of Kerrville is IPOLS approved. You go, what's IPOLS? That's what went off earlier today. I think we had 2 of those go off today for an abducted child. So that is a messaging that we can get to y'all, get to anyone in our community. So that even guests that are in our community of emergency messages if we have to. And then we also have a means with the City of Kerrville and the county, what they call that reverse 911. So those messaging can go out to your phone, and we can also contact y'all via that if there's emergency messaging out there. And then we are also working with a local radio station to be able to provide emergency messaging regularly on there that y'all can also go to. So in the unlikely event we're unable to get out through our cellular service, that you can still tune into a certain station, and then you'll be able to hear the emergency message for that. So we're doing a lot of community education for that. You're going to see much more of that coming out now as we get closer within a month of the actual total eclipse. So you'll see a lot more public information coming for that. And then joint messaging. So we've been working with the city, Peterson Health, our other partners out there, making sure that we can educate y'all as much as possible and get a good understanding about what's coming in October. What was coming in October is not the same as what's happening in April. So when we talk about the messaging out there, October was an annular eclipse. So they anticipated 5 to 10% increase as opposed to totality 3 times the population. And that's what happened. Some bad information got out, and businesses may have reacted according to thinking, hey, we're going to have a lot of people in this town in October, and we did not. But we are going to see that on the April. And then obviously doing more conferences like this.
Yeah, if you watch social, if you need additional information as we move forward, if you watch any of our social media feeds or KerrvilleEclipse.com, we're feeding information to those constantly now to try to update. A lot of the information that you're getting today, you'll see coming out on a lot of those sites and sources in small bites to be able to help educate and answer some of the questions that are out there. We worked, as we talked about with transportation, we've worked with TxDOT to help identify streets and roadways to help us egress out of the city. We feel like most of the traffic will be egressing back to San Antonio for the most part. So that's been our goal, is to identify roadways that we can utilize to try to press large quantities of traffic in short spans of time out and away from the city. And we'll run through some of those here in just a few moments. We've identified additional sources to help us close roads and as well as off-site parking locations and transportations for some of our visitors. Ashley Boyle and her group at the Parks and Recreation Department have worked hard with the schools to set up a remote parking location there that is a park and ride, where they have sold tickets to park there, and then you'll be on a shuttle bus and shuttled to the park. They also have a park and watch location at our sports complexes, at both the soccer complex and baseball complex, where you can pay for a parking space, get out, watch the eclipse, and then depart from that location. We're working with TxDOT to ensure that we have real-time traffic flow information in and around our community. So we feel pretty confident that we'll be able to try to manage what's occurring in our city. Now, does that mean we're going to alleviate traffic problems in our community? Well, no, that's not going to happen. We will have traffic congestion. We will have traffic backups in locations. We're doing the best that we can to pre-plan for that and find alternate routes to push some of that traffic, as you'll see here in a few minutes.
And one of the last ones we're working on is facilities, hazmat, contaminants. So we're doing additional trash. Remember, we have our guests come in town, but people leave trash, right? But it's our community, this is our town. And so we want to make sure that we have those additional trash cans out there. People have a place to put their trash. At least it's there for that. So we talk with our, today, talking with our businesses, that if you're a business or restaurant and that you get trash pickup on Monday, and you're typically full on Monday and they can't miss a day, you probably need to talk to your pickup vendors, whoever that is, and try to look at a different schedule, maybe another pickup. So I'm going to leave that up to y'all. Y'all know what your schedule is for that as businesses. And then post-event debris management. So what are we going to do after the event? So when they leave the trash, how do we pick up the trash cans? Also, what if there's extra trash on the ground? Once again, it's our community. They went home, so we need to make sure we get that taken care of. And then most importantly, locations and resources for portable restroom facilities. So we have 200 portable restrooms that will be placed throughout the city. So a large portion of them will be in the Louise Hayes Park, that we do expect a large volume of people to attend, but they will be strategically put throughout the actual city itself, and they'll be next to a trash can there too. And we will provide that information on where those are located. So community planning, talked about this a little bit earlier, really the basic needs. So food, water, fuel. So those are things that we should be planning anyway. We've already all went through the winter storm. We all said, boy, I wish I would have done X. The question is, have you done it? so since then. So the answer sometimes is I could do a better job, and if I had another winter storm, I'd be like, all right, that's twice on me. But make sure you have the extra water. When we're really talking about it, we're talking about Sunday, Monday, maybe Tuesday. So is the window to make sure that you have the food, the resources you need. So as businesses, are y'all open and available for that? And we can talk about that in a second, making sure that you're available. So y'all are a key source of food and other things that community needs, basic needs that we have out there, that if y'all close, that changes it quite a bit. We saw that during the winter storm too. So when a lot of the restaurants couldn't open, or when the first restaurant opened, which I think was Chicken Express, the line was as long as it could be. So things that you can do to also help us with that. We're asking people to make sure they have their medications taken care of. If you look at your medications and I have enough to get to Monday, we probably want to get that refilled the week before. Once again, we're talking a small window in there. So if I have enough medications to get to mid-April, you're fine until then. So you don't have to go too early for that. But it is something to take a look at. And then cash. I think cash is a great one. So if there's some businesses or y'all rely on, so this is twofold, right? So as citizens, so to have extra cash available. So because I want to purchase something and I'm having issues with the Wi-Fi or cellular to be able to make that purchase, have some cash on. That's probably one of the things we don't carry much anymore is cash, especially with Apple Pay and everything else out there. So it makes it kind of convenient, but we do need to make sure that we have the additional cash. And then how do y'all manage that as businesses also? So what does that cash look like? So we're making that a cash exchange with individuals that typically you do not on a regular basis. And reschedule any routine appointments. So routine appointments with doctors on Mondays, probably going to be closed anyway, but we probably need to reschedule those. So Tuesday morning, 8 a.m., probably need to reschedule a little bit. We're going to write ourselves on Tuesday, so definitely we'll be back and we'll stabilize all the community lifelines by Tuesday. But there's some things that you'd probably just want to watch and go, okay, I have that appointment with a chiropractor on Monday, probably going to be canceling. They'll probably call you to cancel that anyway. And then limit travel on Monday, but enjoy the festivities. It's our community, so have a chance to enjoy it. So you don't have to stay at home, but you have to understand that if you want to go out, there's going to be delays. It's things that we expect now. If we were to go to San Antonio and we want to go eat downtown San Antonio at 5 o'clock, we're probably going to expect delays. And when they say it's an hour and a half till we eat, we go, okay, I'm okay with that. We're going to see some of the same things. So how do we mitigate that? How do we balance that? We're very, very fortunate. Kerrville's our home, and boy, we're lucky as can be when we think about it. When it comes to these resources, I mean, we wait 30 minutes and we're like, that's it. And most of the time we walk right into one of y'all's restaurants, and we're eating pretty much within a few minutes. So I think those are some of the nice things. Recommend, so Chief?
So we've kind of talked about cellular. We have that planning guide coming up. Yeah, we are recommending that restaurants and mercantile businesses, remain open. Evaluate what your business is, and if you feel like that you can be a benefit to supporting the community and supporting the event, I think it would be very, very beneficial to us if you made that consideration and did that. So information on the Eclipse, as I said earlier, at KerrvilleEclipse.com, any of our social media sites, the police department, the City of Kerrville, the Chambers, Convention Visitors Bureau, we're all sharing out each other's information, trying to get as much information out as we can. Just some of the other websites that you can get to, and now we'll jump into traffic plan. And as I move through this presentation, if there's something that you're particularly interested in, please raise your hand, ask questions. I'll do my best to answer what I can. As late as just about an hour and a half ago, there were some pieces of this plan that are being adjusted or may be adjusted in the coming days. So don't take all of it as set in stone, but for the most part, we're about 98% certain that we're ready to go. Yes, sir.
Quick question is on traffic plan.
Sure.
Do 911 calls get any priority on the cellular system?
They do. Yes, 911 calls bump to the top of the cellular system.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. And we're as I said, we've planned for the additional 911 calls that we could receive. We've expanded our network internally to be able to accept more 911 calls simultaneously. We don't foresee that we're going to have an issue with that, but if we do, we have a plan in place for rollover for that as well. So we'll start off down and around our event area, which is Louise Hayes Park, which would be at the top of this map to kind of orient you. This is the small HEB on Sidney Baker and the mall just across the street. This traffic pattern should probably look pretty familiar. We utilize about 95% of this traffic pattern post 4th of July every year. This is how we move vehicles out of this area. As I said, our goal is to try to move as much traffic as we can towards I-10. We're thinking incoming guests from outside the community. We figure our local folks kind of know the area and they'll figure out how to get home, but we're really going to work hard to try to get our guests out of the community. The only change that actually starts on this plan, just right here at about La Casa, is we're going to shift traffic all the way over into the left-hand turn lane. So that left-hand turn lane for northbound traffic, that left-hand turn lane will turn into a northbound traffic lane from La Casa all the way through the city up to Holdsworth. So as you see some of these maps, keep that in mind. Left-hand turns will be limited. There won't be any places adjoining to Sidney Baker that a left-hand turn will be possible. Any place that you approach Sidney Baker from a side street will be a right-hand turn only throughout the plan. Everything here pretty much, as I said, sits as we normally do at 4th of July with road closures just in and around the park. So we have safe passageways for pedestrians moving back and forth from some of the parking lots in the area. Just a zoomed in picture of La Casa and Park Lane up near Louise Hayes Park, just behind HEB to orient you. There'll be closures there. That roadway will not be open for any travel starting at about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning on April 8th. Keep in mind this traffic plan, I should have set this at the beginning. This traffic plan is for event day only. April 8th is when this will go into effect. We will start laying out the necessary equipment in the days leading up to, and then starting at about, in some of these cases at 8 o'clock in the morning, and with the remainder as we move away from the event, those things will start going into place at about 10 o'clock in the morning. Because of that, we're recommending that any guests that are coming to our community, or if you're planning to go down and enjoy things at Louise Hayes Park, we recommend that you be parked and in place at the park by 10 a.m. because once we start putting our traffic safety plan into place, it is truly meant to move vehicles away from the city. So it'll make it difficult to move into or towards the center of the city. Yeah, you can do it, but it won't be as free movement as we're used to on the roadway. This is Sidney Baker and Lehman Drive, a similar setup where we're pushing everything back to the right, back south. Nothing will be allowed to move north from that location. Thompson and Sidney Baker. With the closures, these are always hard closures, similar to the 4th of July event. These are always hard closures, and they will be a day of event as well. And those will go into place about 7 a.m., likely the morning of the event. Same thing with the Louise Hayes Park entrance road at Cully Drive. We will be closing Thompson Drive there and the entrance to the park. Incidentally, the park will be closed to traffic from Thursday evening through Tuesday. So there will be no vehicular traffic allowed into the park during that time. As we move farther north up Sidney Baker, you can see again the routine closures at Water Street that we normally do in and around the parking garage, and then continuing on north. If you'll notice, we're still running with the third lane in the center turn lane going north. One note here is that Main Street, if you were coming eastbound on Main Street and approaching Sidney Baker, and you're in the left-hand turn lane, you will have to make a left-hand turn into what would normally be the left-hand turn lane for Sidney Baker. So we will guide the traffic control there. We'll force traffic into that most inside lane for northbound traffic there, which is a different movement, but we'll have signage, we'll have cones, and we'll have officers in that intersection physically directing traffic. Many of these intersections with the closures and altered traffic patterns will be manned by police personnel or traffic control personnel to help guide traffic and keep traffic moving the best we can. This kind of the overall area view, we'll dial down into it just a little bit as we move in. This is, as we talked about, this is Water Street at Sidney Baker with the closures both to the east and the west. And then going over on Water Street towards the parking garage, again, we'll have street closures. This is one area that we may see some adjustments based on our shuttle bus from Tivy and some of the charter buses that may be coming in from outside the city. They'll all be directed and being dropped off out in front of the library. So they will all come in on Quinlan, onto Water Street, and then back out Clay Street. So we have some traffic adjustments that we're going to make in this area. But overall, no, this will be an area that we're asking folks to avoid once the event has started. We have plans to put out signage once the parking garage is full. We anticipate that very early in the day occurring, and then street closures occurring just behind that in some of these areas. This is the traffic intersection at Water and Earl Garrett. So now we're on the other side of Sidney Baker, just discouraging traffic moving up into the next intersection that's a hard closure. And this will be Water Street at G Street. Incidentally, there'll be a hard closure at G Street because we'll be closing the G Street Bridge starting at about 8 a.m. on April 8th. There will be two bridges, as you see, that we're going to close for emergency traffic only because we feel like traffic on the other three primary bridges at 534, Sidney Baker, and Spur 98 Thompson, we feel like we could see very heavy traffic through those intersections to the point that it makes it difficult to move emergency vehicle traffic back and forth across the river. So in response to that, we will be closing those two bridges early on April 8th to utilize for emergency vehicle traffic only. This is G Street Bridge as you're coming from the opposite direction. So if you were coming from Sidney Baker towards Water Street, we'll have a hard closure just prior to the bridge. This will still allow general access into the area from this location, where we'll be discouraging traffic with a local traffic only sign, meaning if you have a business or if you have business down in that area that you need to get to, or I don't know if we have any residents necessarily down in there, but if you have reason to be in there, certainly utilize the roadway, but we're discouraging general traffic from utilizing that roadway with the signage there. This is a general overview of the Lemos Street area from what would be Main Street, moving across the bridge over onto Thompson Drive. As you can see, that's going to be a hard closure for the bridge. We're doing the same thing there trying to discourage travel approaching Lemos Street Bridge from several blocks away. We'll still allow, obviously, the local traffic that needs to get in and out of their residence or businesses in that area to move through. But it will primarily be utilized for emergency traffic. Francisco Lemos and Main Street, you'll see traffic closures for southbound and northbound here, trying to control traffic flow moving down onto G Street Bridge and north from that location. This is Francisco Lemos, Water Street. We'll have the closures for both the north and southbound lanes there. Water Street will still be open east and westbound at that intersection. Thompson Drive and Francisco Lemos at the opposite end of the bridge. The northbound side will be closed, lanes will be closed and it'll be a hard closure. Nothing will be allowed to enter from that area. So if you live or have a business on the other side of the river, you will have to access it off of the Water Street side to be able to get into that area. Sydney, so now we're moving back to the center of town, going to continue north up Sydney Baker. As we talked about earlier, the lack of right-hand turns, or left-hand turns, I'm sorry, we're going to discourage left-hand turns anywhere along the route, and here's one of the first locations where we start discouraging those left-hand turns and not allowing those. For safety movement of the traffic and to keep the traffic flow moving faster. Same thing at the next intersection, Jefferson. Those are right-hand only turns that we're going to allow there. The only movement as you join into Sydney Baker there. You'll see a hard closure at Schreiner and North Street. Part of the reason for this closure we'll be utilizing from the police department through about 2 blocks back as part of our emergency operations center, and the activities that we're going to be running out of that center may require a lot of movement back and forth between the police department and this location, and we want to make sure that we're keeping the crowds out and away from where we're running emergency operations as well. Additional closures over in that area. That's Washington and North Street. Again, protecting the traffic flow up and down North Street for our use. There's a larger version. So as you can continue up Sydney Baker, each of the side streets will be signed with local traffic only, with a small barricade, and will also be signed with right turn only signs, or no left turn signs, as it were, to allow access into those neighborhoods. Our goal there is to discourage our guests from trying to utilize side streets to escape the traffic and instead maintain and continue northbound. You can see once you get to Holdsworth, this is where our traffic pattern returns back to normal, because we'll take that left-hand turn lane that we've been flowing northbound since La Casa, and we will force everything in that left-hand turn lane to go west on Holdsworth and access. We'll have signage indicating access for I-10 via Harper Road at that location to encourage folks to utilize that traffic point to also access I-10. The Sydney Baker Golf, this is just a zoomed in version of that. You can see the left-hand turn only coming out of that center lane. Again, discouraging traffic from making that right turn with local traffic only signs there, and returning to normal traffic from that location going north. Normal traffic design on the roadway from that location going north. All right. Any questions on the traffic plan? Yes, sir.
Are you going to have some officers like at the Holdsworth one? Residents moving it, or y'all gonna have control of the lights?
We'll have, at any of the major intersections, we will have traffic control. We will have officers stationed there. We've partnered with TxDOT, and they're contracting in a number of officers, and then we are also asking for mutual aid from agencies on the other side of San Antonio, and we'll be manning those with personnel that will actually direct traffic and keep it moving and give direction.
Okay, get a second one. What's the picture projected for the rest of the, like, west side of Kerrville and the east side? Are people just gonna pull up on any piece of green grass, like at a couple of the schools, just pull up, sit up, park right there?
You know,
Do y'all have an idea from 2017 if that happens?
so part of why we have an event at Louise Hayes Park is one of the things that we read out of those is we need to give people places to go. So that's what we've tried to do, is give them the ability to go to Louise Hayes Park with an event happening there, as well as the viewing locations out off of Holdsworth, give them the ability to go and park there. So we're hoping we can reduce the number of people that are just finding a side of the road and pulling off and looking up and watching it happen. You know, I get the question a lot, you know, if people are trespassing on my land, what do I do? Well, you just call the police department, you know, ask them to leave. If they don't leave, call the police department, and we'll respond and take whatever action is necessary. We have to remember this is literally a 4-minute event, and it'll be 4 minutes of looking up and everybody's going to be leaving. So it'll be short-lived.
The other benefit of that is the number of parks that we have here. So a lot of people we saw before will find those parks. Because if I can't get so far, I mean, that's what we would do, right? So then we're going to find an open space, think through it, I'm going to find a park. And we got great parks. And actually, how many parks do we have? So how many? 27. So that's a lot of opportunities. People go to a park and be able to view it there. So yes, of course, does that mean the streets will have cars? Of course. I mean, that'll be part of it. But I think as Chief kind of said, it is the 4 minutes 25, and then people will want to leave after that. So definitely those that just came to view. So.
Chief, you identified a couple of local traffic only routes.
Yes.
How is local traffic only going to be identified?
So there's no way for us to stand and monitor that. Really what that is a discourager for people to stay on path who are guests into the community. We still have to allow access into those neighborhoods to the residents that live there. There will be barricades up that will have that signage on them, and really it's meant to be a discourager. There's no way we're really going to truly prevent someone from turning into that neighborhood that shouldn't. Any place that is hard controlled like that, we will have barricades, and they will be manned barricades where people can actually move them and drive through. And most of those are in areas where emergency vehicles will be transversing the river. So, yes, sir.
I think I heard you say that all that adjustment takes place April 8th.
Yes, sir.
Nothing Saturday, Sunday at all. It's
No,
only
sir.
on Monday.
Yes, sir.
She said the park closures.
Yeah, the actual closure of the park, vehicular traffic into the park will take place on Thursday.
Thursday.
Yes, that we have some of the NASA is coming in and some of their stuff. They'll be there setting up early, and we have equipment that will be moving in pre-event, and then the setup of the stage and the event and things down in the park will take a day or two to happen. Right. So if you utilize the river trail, you'll still be able to utilize that. Just won't be able to drive into the park to use it. So, yeah. We're also our GIS department is also working with Google and Waze to try to pre-program a lot of the closures and a lot of the areas to really continue to flow traffic so that their GPS doesn't say, hey, make a right turn here, and it's a road that we have closed. So we're trying to discourage as much of that through technology as we can to keep them on the paths that we've identified. This is really just the center corridor plan for the city. There's a plan for the county and how it connects in with us. We've all really worked towards the goal of trying to move traffic out and away. We know we have events occurring at Kerrville Folk Festival, our events, Ingram has events occurring. So we have events occurring that we feel like are going to bring large numbers of people into the area. So we're doing what we can outside of the city with our partners at the county and at TxDOT to try to direct that traffic away so it doesn't add to the amount of congestion that we have in the city.
What time do you think you'll be able to, on that Monday, are y'all planning on returning anything back to normal? Or y'all just leaving it for that night?
No, we will at some point make a decision, depending on the traffic flow and volume and what it looks like, as to when we will start pulling down the traffic control. We have contractors that are setting that up, so they'll want to go home at some point that night.
I think the biggest benefit we have is working with the Emergency Operations Center, is that we're also in coordination with TxDOT. So they're our partners sitting in there. So we'll have a lot of intel and information about what the highways, what I-10 is looking like down the road. So we're going to get that as we move through. So that'll help us make those decisions instead of just picking a time per se. We'll know that real-time information, and we'll go, okay, it's going to be time now, or it's going to start to try to break down all the way through.
Right.
Other questions? One I did want to bring up, and just as fire chief, is that a question kind of came out before, is that I don't want anyone parking in my property. As a business owner, can I close the fire lane? The answer is no. You cannot hard barricade the fire lane. You can soft barricade it, so I can put cones up. I can staff something there, but everything has to be staffed and managed. Because you could imagine, in the unlikely event that we have to respond to your business because of a fire or something else, the last thing we need is a vehicle parked there blocking that where we're unable to kind of get through. So do look at that and do manage that as far as your property. It's your property for that, but the fire lane we do need to manage, and we do need to kind of keep those open. So, but definitely if you have large fire lanes, if you're one of those owners in there and you see an opportunity, I don't want people start to park behind my business there, then get some cones, have some of your staff out there, so stop people. Most people, and I don't mean to open up anything else, but most people will follow that. So when you say something, hey, no park back here, okay, but if you don't, then they're just going to take advantage of that situation from there. So, and if you have issues, call us. We're not restricted, so fire department would be glad to help, police department too, so we're still there.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So we're increasing our staffing starting on Thursday before. So our Emergency Operations Center operation period will run from Thursday through Tuesday at about noon. Is what we're planning right now. We hope we're done by Tuesday at noon. But that's our operation period. So starting Thursday, the police department, we will start increasing our staff numbers through the weekend. And as we get into April 8th, we'll reduce the size of patrol zones for our officers, and we'll really be requiring them to try to remain in those patrol zones unless they're answering calls or backing other officers, so that we have that response capability. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Sure. Mm-hmm. No, yeah, certainly. Yeah, we can. Anything you have, we'll. I believe these are going to be this presentation is going to be posted out on social media and websites. Is it the Chamber's website?
We will. We've had some people say the audio is bad, so we may need to.
Okay.
The city has backup audio, so
Very good.
we will try to fix that technical glitch and have a quality version posted.
Okay. Yeah, and there are already some interviews and information sessions like this that are posted on the city's social media and website, and feel free to access those. There's also a huge frequently asked questions piece on the KerrvilleEclipse.com, and a lot of the routine asked questions you can find there as well. Sure. Yeah, no worries.
I know this is kind of outside our scope, but traffic estimates on I-10 specifically from San Antonio to Kerrville, is there going to be any advising that you can do on that?
I'll advise you right now, it's going to be extremely heavy. We are making internal plans as far as our personnel. We're making internal plans for them to be able to stay here in the city starting Sunday night through Tuesday morning. Just so that we have access to them and they don't have to try to fight through the traffic coming down I-10 to get to work. So if you have employees that live outside of Kerrville, that live especially in the direction of I-10 towards San Antonio, I would recommend that you talk with them about, what time do you need to leave to get to work if you're relying on them for your business.
So for people that are coming from San Antonio already and for whatever reason cannot stay overnight on
Right.
Sunday, would you think it's safe to triple their drive time? Or can you give anything
What
like
time's
that?
their shift start?
Let's say 11 a.m.
Okay, yeah. So you're going to want to leave a lot earlier than that, because I imagine if you were going to be up here 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, I think you're fine for travel 7 o'clock. But I think after that, I think a lot of people would plan from San Antonio that are going to move into totality would leave. That's what we would do, right? 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, we load up and say, okay, let's go. Oh, I don't want to get stuck in traffic. So yeah, if they're leaving at 9 o'clock, they probably won't make it. So realistically, into Kerrville proper. So that's going to get backed up pretty quickly for there, and that's some of the stuff we saw. So I would have them come up early, have breakfast somewhere, and then go to work at 10. So.
And for people with businesses with larger parking lots, are you encouraging any kind of security, temporary cameras, anything like that?
That's totally up to the business how they want to handle that. We've seen the gamut of from I'm going to close my parking lot and sell parking spaces to I'm operating as business as usual. So really up to the business.
And Wi-Fi security, is there any messaging that you're doing on Wi-Fi security for people that typically keep it open up or have a very obvious password?
I think it would be the same message that I would give anytime is to protect those networks and password protect them with something that is not easily defeated.
Are you aware of anything the FAA is doing about trying to lock down road traffic or anything up above?
We have a request in for a TFR for a total flight restriction. We're getting ready to submit that. That has not been approved. We're not certain if that's possible for an event this size, but it's something that we have thought about.
City limits?
Now we were looking primarily over our event site to reduce that over the event site or reduce the amount of air traffic over the event site. But as I said, that's being submitted, hasn't been approved, but it is something that we are looking at.
So do we know what y'all's projection on weather's supposed to be? I know y'all keep getting that.
Clear skies is what I want. I want
we want-
clear skies. There's been way too much planning.
That's right. 3 years ago, we would have said, "Oh yeah, clouds and rain, that'd be great." There's been so much work and planning at this point. We want clear skies.
That's what I want. It's go time. I want to see this thing.
Yeah.
So,
Get it over with.
yep. So
Absolutely.
it will be. So I think it's going to be a great experience. I mean, how lucky are we? We don't have to endure this 11-hour traffic to go back to San Antonio or wherever else they're going. It's going to be right here in our backyard. So we have a great experience, something we can enjoy as a community, or some things we need to do that we need to take care of as individuals, not just during a total eclipse, during any emergency that we have out there, just best practices out there. And I think those are things that we can do to enjoy it. Whether you would like to go to the park and enjoy the park, we can enjoy the park. Sometimes, we say, well, I'm not going to drive down there. But how many times do we go to San Antonio Riverwalk? We'll park in the River Center and we'll walk for miles and miles, and we'll come back and go, wow, I'm beat. We may have to walk a little longer, but it's Kerrville. So I think we're blessed to be here. We have a great river trail system you can access from anywhere to be able to enjoy the festivities, go back home, and it's going to be great. It's going to be really good. So, were there any questions online, or did you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Colby with the American Red Cross. I just wanted to make sure that our disaster relief vehicles will have the same access as other emergency vehicles.
Okay, so I know Dub Thomas, I think, was talking with you all on some of those, and yes, so we'll have that conversation.
And other question is, our disaster relief team is mostly volunteers. Is there any way I can get the volunteers that are on duty that day credentials so they can get to the emergency relief vehicles, or do they just have to find their best way to
Yeah, I think they'll probably just have to find their best way to you. I can't see if that's at your office, if that's where those are located. They would be able to get there. It'll just be the traffic. There'll be no hard closures that would prevent them from being able to get to your office.
Yeah. And that's the same for us, even our staff. So we don't get to use some of those other opportunities. We're just telling them you're going to have to come in early and be prepared for a long day. And if your shift ends at 7, you might be prepared for a little longer evening. So, great question.
Yep. Any questions online? Not seeing any. All right.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Did you have a question? I'm sorry. I thought you were about to. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, both here in person and online. We appreciate the opportunity to get out in front of you folks and answer questions, and hope we've provided you with some useful information for Eclipse Day. We're excited. We're excited to see it, and excited to get it going and get it done, and and move on. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you all.